Mute and see what.
Good morning and happy Tuesday, family. I apologize for the delay. I was having a little bit of technical difficulty this morning, if you can't tell from the difference in my background today. But that's all right because we have some good information for you today. So we're not going to let that get in the way. As you guys are hopping in, make sure you drop down in the comments and say what's up. Let us know that you're here because I am in a little bit different of a StreamYard studio room today. If I don't read your comment, forgive me. I can barely read the comments. I can barely see myself today because I'm on a phone and not on a computer. Today, we're going to be talking about CE, and CE is continuing education. So before I get into that, if you're new to me, my name is Timlin Bowens, and I am America's favorite EA. These live streams are to help my fellow EAs and aspiring EAs in their journey with becoming an enrolled agent and running an EA firm. So we're talking about CE today because it's one of the things that we have to make sure we keep up with in order to maintain our license, but it goes above and beyond that. A lot of people just see it as an obligation and they're hurrying up to get their CE before the end of the year just so they can check that box. But CE also provides us with a wonderful opportunity to learn about different areas of tax law that we can implement in our tax practice and to be able to help our clients in a much, I would say, bigger capacity. So since I am again in a different studio today, you can already see my guest. I wasn't able to hide her from the stage. So today I have with me, first, she's my tax sister before I say everything that she is to you all. But I have my tax sister, Mrs. LuSundra Everett. She is also the founder of ETS Tax Institute. She's also the owner of Everett Tax Solutions. She is a wife, a mom, a vet, and you may know her in the YouTube world as the HomeBiz Tax Lady. It is my honor to have her here with me today to talk about continuing education for enrolled agents. Good morning, LuSundra.
Good morning and good morning, everyone. And just so you know, so you see me turning my head, I got my other screen over here because I'm over here trying to be on comment duty as well. So we gonna make this thing work out today.
And I appreciate that for real. So let me see. I have some people hopping in. I appreciate you, LuSundra, being on comment duty. Good morning, Angelita. Good morning, Anthony. It's good to see you again today. I hope you enjoyed the class yesterday. LuSundra, so when talking about CE, some people, and it's probably only if they don't know you, are wondering why I was having you come to talk about CE. So you all, I met LuSundra online in 2019. That's crazy. 2019, so about 5 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Time flies when you're having fun. And then the pandemic years seemed like 10 years. But I had also seen her YouTube channel, HomeBiz Tax Lady. So if you guys aren't subscribed, go subscribe to it. What drew me to her is I could tell that she was actually passionate about educating people. And for me, because of having the accounting degree, because of my experience working in the CPA firm, and because myself, I'm a lifetime learner and I actually go read tax code and I go read publications, I knew that she knew what she was talking about and that education was important to her. So if you go look up stuff on her channel, like, you're not going to get the stuff that makes you feel good. You're going to get the correct answers, right? The correct information. So, LuSundra, for you, when we talk about continuing education, why is that something that's important to you?
Competency. One of the things that and you mentioned that burns us to no end is when we get on here and we see all these people serving dessert, right? And that's what I say. They're serving dessert. They're serving the things that sound sexy and make you feel good and make you want to go jump out here and do some of this loop it, swoop it tax stuff. But I'm about the vegetables. I'm about the nutrition piece. Like, here's the things that you need to know before you go jump out here and do some of this stuff. Um, when I first got started, I was like everybody else. Like, I got to have how many continuing education hours in my first year? And how exactly am I supposed to do that? I had no idea. So, my first order of business is let me figure out how to get these first continuing education hours so that I'm on track, right? I knew what our requirement was, I just didn't know how to do it. But then, like I said, as I got more involved, and even when I first got in the tax industry, the first thing that I noticed is that the people that were getting in the most trouble were business owners. And they were getting in trouble because they got all the loop it, swoop it stuff from whatever business they were in. I come from an MLM world, so I knew all the things that they were saying to their members, and it wasn't right, right? And so that's what I did. I said, okay, no, I have to do something. And that's actually when I started putting out content online. I said, everybody is out here telling people how to go make $1 million in 90 days, but nobody is talking about these taxes.
Amen. And the thing that's kind of scary about it is right now you're referring to like business owners and them being educated and more so the taxpayer. But as professionals, especially, NAEA refers to us as America's tax experts, we have a duty to stay educated ourselves beyond just the bare minimum requirements because I receive so many messages from tax professionals that are on the same whim with the taxpayers and not actually educating themselves, but just dropping in inboxes, be like, "Hey, Timlin, is this okay? Hey, LuSundra, is this okay?" And
Yeah.
post it.
And that's exactly that's what got me into this online space. And then when I started seeing these other tax professionals, tax preparers, that
I caught that. I caught that. I know the difference.
but that's what it is. I saw all these other tax preparers just out here saying all of this, giving all of this half information. So again,
Mhm.
it's the sexy stuff. It's the thing that sounds and makes you feel good, but on the back end, they're doing a disservice to these people. They're doing a disservice to these clients, and it was literally driving me insane. And as much as we were trying to fight this fight with the misinformation, it finally got to the point where I started leaving comments. When you get the letters from the IRS and the state, here's the link to make an appointment.
Ditto.
But that's why it's important, because as much as everybody, which one of one of these acts, I lose track of that, all the acts and whatnot. But when the IRS got all the money, right, people were like, oh my God, they're gonna come to our houses with guns and all of these things.
Yeah.
And but I was like, if you focus on being a competent tax professional, it doesn't matter if the IRS or the state shows up on your doorstep, because you can never make that determination. You will never be able to determine when somebody will get audited, if they won't get audited, any of those things. The only thing that you can do is make sure that you're competent and you prepared an accurate return based on the information provided to you. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. And that's what I tell my clients. We prepare your return as if we knew the IRS was going to show up tomorrow. Now, that requires you to know the law. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not about you don't like the outcome. No, the client isn't necessarily going to like the outcome, but is it the right outcome? No matter how bad it sucks or how great it is it the right one?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things too, when people are like, I see advertised, you know, come to me because you'll have an audit proof return, and they're advertising it as if I do your return, you won't get audited, when really an audit proof return means it's going to pass the audit. Because as you said, we don't determine when the IRS is going to show up. Now, it may be an audit at random. You may be with a sketchy preparer. You may be the sketchy preparer
Right.
where the IRS is auditing your client's returns because they're on to you and you're about to get audited as well. But that's a whole nother whole nother episode
But
in live stream.
but what I found in in being in these different spaces is that the emphasis is on getting the bag. It's not about getting educated. When I walk
Mhm.
into a conference of about 30 people and I ask who is at least a part of the annual filing season participant program, and only two people raise their hands, that made me clutch pearls I wasn't even wearing. Because I'm like, how do you not really focus on, it's called continuing education for a reason. Like you said, we're lifelong learners. It doesn't stop. And so if you want to be of value to your client base, you got to know what you're doing.
Mhm.
It's just that simple.
And that's the scary thing too for the public that they don't realize. And as you said, tax preparers, not tax professionals, it's not regulated by the Treasury and the IRS, so there is no minimum requirement. So AFSP, the annual filing season program participant, I say the right P, um, that's voluntary. Where
Right.
like that's crazy. Would you want your doctor to voluntarily take hours? No. So then we have tax preparers who are upset with people who are credentialed. It's like there's a different standard that I have to follow that you don't follow. Because just like you said in that example, people are like, well, I'm just going to go get some free CEs. But they're taking continuing education that's not even relevant just to say that they did it.
Yes. And it's not, and again, it's not the foundational stuff. It's not the things that we're talking like basic stuff. And when I say basic stuff, I mean these are types of things, whether it is getting the filing statuses right. I
I
mean,
was just about to say that.
I and I will tell you, the first time I ever saw this, I was working at a tax franchise. This gentleman came in to me. He was like, I'm filing head of household. And I was like, okay, do you have a dependent? Oh, my wife already claimed the dependent. I was like, well, sir, are y'all still married? I'm asking all of the questions. But basically,
Mhm.
what it boiled down to is, sir, your filing status is incorrect. You all need to amend this return, whether you're filing jointly or filing separately, whatever that is. He got hot. He left, huffed out. The owner of the franchise, hot with me. Okay. 2 weeks later, dude comes back. We have to amend these returns because my kid is applying for financial aid and they told us that our tax return was filed incorrectly. Now, FAFSA will get you faster than the government, okay? Just for clarity. But that's what I mean, having these people saying, oh, well, yeah, we'll just file you married couples, head of household, you claim a kid and you claim a kid, and y'all get all this money. And it's wrong.
Yes, just because the IRS doesn't reject it when you file it doesn't mean it's correct. Just because they accepted it, that's not an acceptance, everything is okay. That's an acknowledgement we received your e file.
That's
There's a big
exactly right.
difference.
That's exactly right.
So we have a question. I'm gonna get this really quick. I'll let you take this one. It's from Deepak. He says, "Hi, I joined a little late. What's the difference between CE and CPE?"
Love it. Typically, when you hear CE, it's related to IRS-CE, and when you hear CPE, it's typically related to CPAs, because CPAs get a lot of, they have different types of credits of things that they can actually get credit for, where enrolled agents and with IRS-CE is specifically focused on federal tax law.
Mm-hmm. So you
So
have to be careful when you're an enrolled agent and you see free CPE. That's not going to meet your requirements that you need for the IRS. Because, like LuSundra said, they have different areas that they can study to get those hours. And you have to remember, because it's not all focused on tax, they can also do stuff on practice management.
mhm.
So that Intuit conference may be amazing, but you still got to go find CE eligible things as well.
Right. And so, and when you're reading the descriptions, does it say IRS-CE? Because I offer IRS-CE, but I'm not NASBA qualified to where I can offer CPE for CPAs.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I'll get to the other question in a bit. When we are looking for CE, LuSundra, I know I have my own criteria, but what would you suggest? You know what? Let me come back to that
Okay.
because I want to make sure I say this too. So, as enrolled agents, unless it's the first year you pass the exam, you are required to have a minimum of 16 hours of CE. 2 of those are required to be in ethics. Now, some people are like, well, what should I take? And we've been talking about having relevant CE. So, with that, LuSundra, 16 hours of CE, we have somebody brand spanking new. Just your suggestion, and I can give suggestions too. And you all don't take this as the gospel truth. This is just our suggestions. But what type of CE would you recommend for somebody that's new to the tax industry?
um, Learning those basic forms, because 9 times out of 10 you're going to start out on the individual level. So that's going to be your Schedule A, your Schedule C, and especially your Schedule C. Why? Because that's where all the fraud takes place. Okay, so you really need to know the laws related to that Schedule C. The Schedule E as well. Those are your rentals. Okay, and then also with the form 8949, like if I were going to tell anyone, oh, and did I say the Schedule A?
You said
Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah. So I would say if you are a brand new person today, you need to go learn those, because those are going to primarily be the returns that you run into. If you're brand spanking new, I would not recommend doing any type of corporate partnership, C Corp. No, sir. And listen, just because your software gives you that little green check mark, it still doesn't mean it's right. Okay. So you cannot depend on your software. So brand spanking new, A, C, the Schedule D, which is also the 8949, the Schedule E for rentals.
Mm-hmm. And you brought up a great point. Like, you cannot depend on the software because, as I said before, that acknowledgement that you get from your software is just that. It's an acknowledgement that says that you got it filed by this time. The software giving you the green check just means that you have it to the point where the IRS will acknowledge it if you send it. It does not mean that it is correct. So, I feel for the people who are not preparing taxes before the Tax Cut and Job Act. Of course, we don't know where that's going.
Mhm.
So I would even say, just depending on where that's going, if you've been doing taxes since 20, 18, 19, you may need to do those over again if that sunsets. And I know that's a ways down.
Yeah,
That's a year before they have to finalize that decision. But refresh your courses as well.
absolutely.
Or are people who aren't brand spanking new? Oh, this doesn't apply to me. You have to stay on top of what is changing with the 1040.
Yeah,
Our postcard form
that
has
never
gotten
was.
longer every year. Yeah. Didn't we initially have like a schedule 4 when that all rolled out, and now schedule 4 is gone? It's only schedule 1, 2, 3. There are changes every year. Like we've said, this is a journey. It's not a destination. So you don't take one class one time and you know everything about it, right?
Absolutely.
Um, so I'm trying to remember because usually when I'm on my computer, I can jot down stuff that I said I was coming back to. Oh, the criteria.
Mhm.
Oh, go ahead.
No, but that's what I was getting ready to say. The like, where are you going to take this CE from? Like, what are reputable sources? Okay, so I will tell you, when I first got started, I had no money, and I found free CE on this site. I don't want to say said site because I'm not trying to get nobody in trouble, and I'm not trying to get us in trouble. But
Thank
there,
you.
there is a site that offers free CE. Okay, and it's good for two things. It's good for getting those hours because, again, like I said, one, I had no money. Two, I had no idea where the CE was coming from. Okay, but free CE will only get you so far. Okay, so it's a good place to get your feet wet. I will tell you that in a particular area. So I will go if I want to learn something or I think something piques my interest. I will go to that site to see if they have free CE on it, and if I'm still interested, then I'll go pay. All right. So had to get that out the way. All right, but you're looking for a CE from credentialed people. Okay. Here's why
Amen.
I say that, because number one, credentialed people are required to study the law. Okay. I'm required to take CE just like the CE that I teach. I'm required to take that. Okay. But there is also a level of responsibility. And there's not, you see on these people, oh, well, go look, so they don't. A lot of times I've been on these CEs where they don't even give you references like to go and use when you're taking CE from a credentialed person. They're typically giving you the Internal Revenue Code, they're giving you whatever publications, all of that. If that CE is not providing that to you, then you need to run in the opposite direction, because you need to be able to go to the code and read it yourself. Okay. This is something that we have to get out of. If we're going to be professionals here, then you got to learn to read the code yourself. Yes, I can go take a CE from somebody who has been like elbow deep in tax since I was knee high to a duck, but I need to be able to go and verify what you said, because you tell me to go to Internal Revenue Code 1234. I'll be darned if I'm not Googling said code, and if what's in the code don't match what you said, I'm coming back. Like, I don't understand how what you said equals this, right? It's almost like the Bible, right? We go into
Listen, I was thinking the same thing. 'Cause you better believe when you're in church, if it feels too good, you better get some scripture references because that
so
thing.
to read it for myself before I can understand. But this is what we have to do as professionals. We have to be able to learn to read the code and also read the publications, right? Because the code is the law. The publications are the law in English. Okay. But you got to be able to go back and research the law. And that is what we are required to do as credentialed professionals. So I'm looking for CE from attorneys, from CPAs, from other enrolled agents, because they have the same requirements that I do and the same responsibility. Like, I do not take that responsibility lightly.
Mm-hmm. And there are some people out here playing that do.
Listen,
I'm not
so
gonna get you started. My
so
fault.
and so that's where, again, where you have to be careful. Do not get caught up in glitz and glam, okay? Because you
Mm-hmm.
have, especially in certain worlds that really are not about credentials, but about building up teams and getting the bag and all of that. These people are not teaching tax law. It's like, here, get this, get this software and no experience necessary and all of that. And that is the fast track to prison.
No, but for
because
real, like we're
because
not joking.
yeah, because the people that are also teaching these other folks don't know the law themselves, so they're teaching them wrong, their teams wrong, and they don't even know it. And so then when you have somebody like me and Timlin over in the corner going to, excuse me, no. Then they look at us like we're crazy, right? Because
We're
you've got
haters.
all of these, we are haters. We are the haters. All right. And so that's so that's what the issue is that not only is it, you have to be intentional about getting educated yourself, but you can't just follow somebody like, ooh, this is something that nobody else knows, because I guarantee you, if it's something in the code that nobody else knows, it's probably not in the code.
Big facts.
Yeah.
Yeah, that like I knew it, but I don't think I thought about it to say it out loud to my community. That when you're looking at CE, not just references to the code, like it needs to be there so you can write it down and go find it yourself. Now, I'm the type of person that in the chat, I'll type and be like, can you provide the code section? Because I like you said, the publication is the code, is the law in English. But we have to remember too, because sometimes people just stop at the publication.
Mhm.
The publication does not have authority. The tax code has the authority.
Correct.
It is the interpretation of the code that's been written. And when I share things, especially in the representation realm, when I'm teaching, I'll share the code and I'll share the IRM and sometimes the publication. Three beautiful translations. Then, I put my sauce on it too in class. But
Yeah.
the IRM is the IRS translation for how the agents and the revenue officers, how they should follow the law. The publication is again the IRS translation of how taxpayers should follow the law, but
Mhm.
the code is the authority.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna go back to church reference, but no, in real life, like you were talking about, like the Bible, like that's the authority. But we all know, like there are preachers that are not out here giving right interpretations of the Bible, and like that is another reason why it's important for you to be able to go and look at that for yourself. You all, LuSundra is going to be one of the best CE providers you find. I think I'm a pretty good teacher myself, but you can't take what we give you as the gospel truth. And that's why we give you the resources to also do your own research. That's
Yeah.
why people tell me, like, you write so many articles, like, I learn better by video or listening to it. That's fine, but you still have to know how to go find it for yourself. You have to put the time in.
Yeah. And I do that, in all of my classes. I just do a list of resources. Like, here's one page, here's every code, here's every section, here's every publication, here's everything that I use in that class. Is you can go and if I'm really feeling myself, I'll go hyperlink some stuff even. Um, but you can have it so that you can go and say, okay, this is where it is. So when you're talking to your clients, you're not saying, well, LuSundra said. They're like, well, who was LuSundra? No.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, no, the Internal Revenue Code says ABCD. and then you can point to it in the code, because that's what you need to be able to provide your clients, not LuSundra said. Because we have some tax professionals where when they say it is, like, it's pretty much gospel truth, but they are not the authority. The code is the authority. I can't go and say this way cool walk on water attorney said this. I'm like, who is that? What does the code say?
Mm-hmm. First person that came to mind when you said that was LG Brooks. Because
Listen,
LG said it.
listen, I'm taking it as
It
gospel,
happened.
but I still got to, but here's one thing about LG. He'd be like, you need to go to go to the IRM 5.1.14 paragraph 2 third word over second line down. Boom, there you go. He will tell you exactly where to go find whatever he just said.
Yeah, it is fascinating. Because
It is.
people will tell me I do that, and I'm like, but I don't. You need to go see LG.
But that's what it is. If the person that's instructing you can't tell you where to go to find whatever it is they're talking about, and something might come up, and like, oh, I think it's in this code right here, but you still got to go look it up, just for yourself. You know, one of the one of the things that I learned along the way is that when it comes to education, you can choose to be mediocre or you can choose excellence. Okay? That's that's the choice that you make. Mediocre is you're doing the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Excellence is you're really trying to learn and learn the science of it all, right? Because listen, and it's going to happen. You're going to get in some of these CEs and you're going to realize this ain't for me, and I promise you you're just there for the polling questions. It happens. But that's how you learn whether something is for you or not. Because I have been there. I think I got into like an oil and gas or something, continuing education. And like 30 minutes in, I'm like, yeah, I'm just here for these polling questions because I will refer this out. I will not do this. But this is how you also develop your expertise. You will learn the things that, okay, yes, I'm going to rock out at that, or no, I don't want to touch that. And that's why also building your network is important, because where I can't stand oil and gas, there's somebody that is killing it in oil and gas, right? And I can refer that out to that person. But I also got to know if that person is out there getting the education too, because if you're not, I'm not sending you my clients.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the questions real quick. I'm going to address this one. So Deepak says, okay, I recently qualified for EA in 2024. Congratulations on passing the exam. Please guide me where to do CE requirements. So, LuSundra and I brought it up before. You need to make sure that it is an IRS-approved CE provider. But also, if you go to the America's Favorite EA site, there is an article that talks about continuing education. And if you would like to see my preferred providers, I do have a list of them. And I believe they're all hyperlinked in there, of different CE providers that you can go to meet your year end requirement. As far as the free CE, because I did see a request for that, as LuSundra said, we don't want anybody to get in trouble, and I don't want my video to get taken down. But if you Google free IRS CE, you probably will be able to find some there. Um, Again, nothing wrong with it if you need those hours, but I will tell you not to expect anything in depth. And usually it is a sales pitch, just realistically, because it takes time and money to create CE. And yeah, you're gonna be pitched something. So Karina says you got to know it for yourself. Amen. Estate Harmonic says, good morning, ladies. I believe that's Misha on Facebook. Uh, I try to keep up with everybody's names and stuff on there. So this question, I will let you answer this first and then I'll answer it. So Notary World says, would you suggest getting a job first as an enrolled agent to gain experience versus stepping out on your own?
So this is a two-part answer. So, do I recommend getting a job to gain experience if you can get a job under a credentialed person? Okay. Now, when I started my business, I went out on my own. Like I said, I started in a tax franchise. I was there for a year and I was like, yeah, this ain't for me. But as luck would have it, I met a CPA who needed assistance. And she's like, hey, how about you come to my office? And when I tell you, she put me through the ringer. She's like, do you know how to, have you done an S Corp before? No, here, go do it. And so that's how I learned how to do S Corps and partnerships because I was under her guidance. So you, even if you go out on your own, you still need to have a mentor in that respect. And I'm talking about a true mentor, not one that is not one that is necessarily tied to how much money you are paying them, but somebody that you can go to and say, hey, I don't know if this is right. Can you please walk through this with me? That's what I'm talking about here. I want to be crystal clear on that. But having someone, again, this is about building your network. This is what I think is great about NAEA is typically you can pick up the phone and find an EA in your area and say, hey, I am LuSundra. I'm a member of NAEA. It says that you do this and I need some help. And you're typically going to get, yes, you don't even have to know them. I totally get that might be kind of weird. So yeah, so that's what I would say to you, that if you can find a job in a place where you are where you have the where you will have some guidance, someone that you can go to check your work, absolutely. But yeah, I started on my own because that's what it was, because I wasn't going to be able to work 60 hours a week away from my home. I had small children at the time, so I had to work it out.
It's funny you brought that up. Not this was not supposed to be a plug for NAEA, but that is something we are actually working on with the member directory. So it's something that we have more control over now. So yes, if you're a member of NAEA, you have the profile where a taxpayer can find you, but there's going to also be an internal profile so that other members can see you. And if you are open to mentoring, if you were needing a mentor, those are the types of things you're going to be able to display on your profile so people know that it is okay to reach out.
Hmm.
Um, but again, like LuSundra said, that's also part of building your network. So a lot of people look at different organizations and things. They're like, what can I get for free? When a lot of the benefits aren't going to always be tangible.
Right.
Was it last year, 2 years ago? I had to do some estate returns. The only reason I did those is because it was a friend. And don't get me wrong, they paid me. It's a friend, but they did pay me. Um, but I was like, hey, I haven't had to do this since like 2011, 2012. I reached out to LuSundra. She said, hey, I know somebody in NAEA. Well, they're in Virginia. She was like, let me see if it's okay for you to contact her. The lady said it was. I reached out. She answered my questions. And I said, hey, what do I owe you? Which, again, when you're starting out, that can be difficult to do. But I would still like appreciate somebody's time. So I did offer to pay her. If you can't do that, offer to buy them Starbucks, a coffee gift card, something, because you don't want to take advantage of people. Um, but she said, we're good. If I need any help in Kentucky, I'll remember to call you. And I'm still waiting for that call because that's the kind of network that we've built. Like, I have the relationship with LuSundra that she can connect me with somebody and be confident that I'm not going to embarrass her. And LuSundra has built the type of relationship with that person that when she says, hey, I have a friend who needs some help with this, like, oh yeah, like a friend of LuSundra is going to be cool. So yeah, very interesting you brought that up because that's something that's going to roll out hopefully within the spring, the internal directory with NAEA.
God,
But
that's great.
back to this question. So I always preach get experience on somebody else's dime. Um, I think it was a beautiful point you brought up. Like, you need a mentor that's not always connected to how much you're paying them. Some of my most valuable mentors have been people who, like, God showed me favor. Like, he showed me favor, and like they've been there to check on me, like how I was doing in my process and everything. And I mean, you can find good people that are paid too, but they're going to have a capacity, right? Um, I didn't realize how important the experience I had was until I did start on my own, because I already knew all of the escort partnership stuff. I got to do that under the guidance of somebody else who had done it for years, partners who had been with these clients for years. So I was able to learn within that safety net. Now, you may not have the opportunity, like LuSundra said, she was at a franchise, which is a completely different baby, than with a CPA. You may not have that opportunity, but if you're looking at doing individual returns, as much as we love to hate them, go get your EA credential paid for by Intuit and work for them during busy season. Like, I'm not even joking.
I listen, I second that. I I think every tax professional should do a season at Intuit because they expose you to so many different things that you might not necessarily see in your own practice. I know I did. There were some things that I was like, wow, I would never have this client. Like, this is not coming my way. So yeah, I would highly recommend doing once a season. I worked a season with Intuit, and after that season, I was like, oh baby, I'm done. Um, but yeah, it's just the exposure. But here's what also what that exposure taught me. It also taught me what I didn't know. So
Hmm.
as I was coming across things that I really had to research, I'm writing that down because if it's something that I'm really interested in learning, that I'm going to take continuing ed on that during the summer.
Exactly. And that's, I didn't realize I was being spoiled at the firm. If there was something I wanted to be stronger in or learn about, somebody else was paying for my CE. So, like, I had that opportunity and that experience that we kind of take for granted, because when you get on your own, you're like, it's all this money. Like, how do I decide? Whereas when you do work for somebody who's actually invested in their company, like an Intuit is going to expose you to different things.
Mhm.
A smaller firm, you're going to be exposed to different things, but then you're going to also have that. Um, it may not be one on one, but you're going to have that guidance as well. I don't know how we got there talking about CE, but let's see. Karina O'Connor says, "Do you both prefer in-person conferences versus online classes for CE?" For me, it depends.
Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah.
Some people I don't like. So, like, I have no intention of being with you in person, but I want this class. And
Yeah.
some classes I may not necessarily need. Like, if I paid for it, I'm still gonna be in there. But I may not necessarily need, but I like the network of people that I'm gonna be with. So it all depends. Definitely, if you're in person, take the time to actually get to know the people that you're there with, because that's gonna be the biggest takeaway, not the CE.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was the champion for online classes when I came to the Virginia Society of Enrolled Agents because I'm like, look, I got kids. I can't necessarily go jump in a midweek conference for for CE because like y'all don't do stuff on the weekends. You only do stuff during the week when I got to be a mom, right? So online classes really help in that respect. But I, like Timlin said, I enjoy going to conferences because you really get to meet people and get to know people and building those relationships. One of the things I don't think we really talk about is the relationship building when it comes down to building networks and things. Like I've built some great networks on Facebook. I am great friends with people that I may not have necessarily been in the same room with, but I know I can pick
Mhm.
up the phone and call and they can call me. So yeah, I definitely enjoy being able to go to conferences, meet people, network, and and just get to know people. And then yeah, but I'm definitely down for online and recorded too, because sometimes I can put that baby on double speed. And but here's the thing though. As an enrolled agent, you have to decide who you want to be in this industry.
Yes.
You have to decide who you want to be. And what I mean is, if you want to be a specialist in whatever section of the Internal Revenue Code, because the Internal Revenue Code is huge. You can specialize in nonprofits, you can specialize in farms, you can specialize in S corps, partnerships, you can specialize in just about anything. Listen, even the adult industry needs specialists. Entertainment industry needs specialists, right? So you can specialize in anything and make a fantastic living. You can do representation. There is so much that you can do, but you have to decide who you are going to be in this industry. I decided I wanted to be an educator, and I wanted to be an educator, one, because I'm passionate about it. Like, I need you to be able to, for the knee bone to connect to the thigh bone, I need for you to know A to B, right? That's what I'm passionate about, because I also know that in this season, there are a lot of smart people and experience that are retiring.
Yes.
Like we mentioned, even changes in the tax code, that's only part of the problem. The other part is you have experience leaving this industry on the tax professional side and on the IRS side and in the state. Like, there are a lot of new people in this industry all the way around. So people still, as much as people talk about, AI is taking over tax preparation. Okay, first of all, that ain't gonna happen today. If you've got a
Or
W-2,
tomorrow.
you know what I'm saying? If you've got a W-2 only client, they never really needed assistance anyway. They can really go to TurboTax and do those returns. Now, I have W-2 only clients that are just like, I just don't want to be bothered. And I'm like, fantastic. This is great money in 15 minutes. Score. Um, but at the same time, you still have to know what you're doing. And so that's what I wanted to do. I set out now to really help create other excellent tax professionals in the story. That's what it is. The one piece of random advice that I got that just came out of left field, this person told me, if you want to be average, if you want to just be all right, take your 24 hours a year, right? Your 72 hours in 3 years. He's like, but if you want to be excellent, you need to get 100 hours of continuing education a year. Noted, received. And I can tell you now, I'm I'm the geek squad over here. Like, when I have colleagues that have been in this industry way longer than me, they're like, hey, I got this. What's the code say on this? I'm like, hold up. Be back to you in 10. Boom, we got it, right? Because I've honed those research skills. Now, do I know everything? No. No, I do not. However, I know a lot. And I know a lot more than a lot of people running around here, because this is what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about being a competent, smart, expert tax professional. That is what I'm passionate about. And I sought out to be excellent. And if you do that, whatever field you are that you want to be an expert in, then you are going to go study. It's
Mhm.
just that simple. You are going to go study, and to where you will be like, okay, but no, Internal Revenue Code 123 says this right here. What you're saying is incorrect, and it will come to you in your sleep.
But for real. So you mentioned, so that's why you became an educator. And you all, LuSundra actually does do the 100+ hours. Cause I'm like, man, she'll be talking about all the C's she did. And I'm like, am I doing enough? And it's funny because you had to remind me. Um, everything that we learn isn't going to always qualify for CE. Like some of the good stuff, some of the stuff you learn from some of the best, it's just not going to qualify for CE. But you not only are an educator, you're making more excellent tax professionals. If somebody's interested in learning from you, let's say you all. I mentioned earlier that LuSundra is the founder of the ETS Tax Institute. So LuSundra actually does have a platform. Not going to say you're the CE provider. ETS Tax Institute is an IRS-approved CE provider. And if you didn't know, yours truly did get to teach an installment agreement class. So I'll let you talk about it more, but there are at least 2 CE a month, new live CE, I should say, a month. And with that, it's one class, it's a 2-hour class. So I mentioned before with the free stuff, you're going to get to the sales pitch. Is going to be kind of up here, not really digging in. I can tell you in that 2-hour installment agreement class, we dug in. Code and IRM. I wasn't about to go on the ETS Tax Institute platform for play. I knew I had to bring my A game. But that's the same thing that you'll find with the other material there as well, because there are classes on partnerships and basis. Like, how do you do a partnership return and miss the basis? But people do, because the software allowed them to file their return. But taking the class with LuSundra, like, you're going to have that deep dive. The same thing with the S Corp. Now, I feel like I'm preaching, and I just said I was going to let you talk about your own platform. So, LuSundra, I will let you tell us more about the ETS Tax Institute before I get more riled up.
No, thank you so much. So this is we're completing actually our first year. And so even that has been a whole learning experience. But our goal is to provide quality CE to help again create these quality tax professionals. So we have a deep dive on the Schedule C. Why? Because that's what most tax professionals are going to run into. We do a deep dive on S corps and partnerships because there's a lot of stuff in those things that, I saw where people were charging $1,000 for a course, and the only thing that they're teaching is putting in income and expenses. I'm like, wait a minute, any idiot can put in income and expenses. If we're not talking about, balance sheets, basis, M2 work, if we're not having those discussions, then we have a problem here. Okay. And so these are the types of things that I'm talking about. And I'll give you an example. I had a young lady who was struggling to pass part 2 of the EA exam. She was failing because of basis. She took one of those $1,000 courses. She came and spent $99 over at Everett at ETS Tax Institute, came back 2 weeks later. She's like, I passed. She's like, I took your course and I passed because I'm teaching you the basics, the foundational, fundamental things that you need to be able to do this stuff. And this is what I want from the people that also teach on my platform, to be able to give you the things that you need so you can take that information and go apply it to your own business. Because I also know that these folks are going to give you the code. And as a matter of fact, I'm requiring the code. If I don't see the code in your presentation, you can't come over here with us. That's not how we're going to get down. So, no, are we the only game in town? No, we are not. But that is what we're about. We're about providing quality continuing education for tax professionals so that you can be competent in what you do, and then you can always build. Like, do I know everything about S corps? No. Can I tell you, S corps are so big?
Yeah.
It's insane. So there is no way that you're ever going to learn it all, but there are just foundational things that you need. And that's where we come in. I've always been about, let's get back to the basics. Everybody is up here, right? In the loop it, swoop it. We want to have a holding company with a C corp smackdown and all of that stuff. Like, wait a minute, but do you know how to do a balance sheet though?
Mm.
Do you know how to report dividends, and do you know how to, and a lot of times that's, people don't know. And I'll give you another example really quickly. I just reviewed a couple of returns from two people who are best friends that we're going to the same CPA. My CPA is in air quotes because this person has zero credentials at all. Now, be clear. Are there great tax professionals who are not credentialed? Yes. There are also crappy professionals who are credentialed as well. This person just happens to be trash and not credentialed, and that just made my soul. But he has these S corps, and I'm looking at when I'm looking at these returns, I told the friend that sent them to me, I was like, hold on, I'm going to go get some popcorn and a drink because this is pure fiction that this person has reported. And I said, if these guys get audited, the check that they're going to have to write is so big, it's insane. Why? Because they weren't doing foundational stuff. They did stuff kind of right, but you can tell they don't know the law.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want for people that come from me, is for people who know the law. So we do have the 2 CEs a month. We also have our membership that is 149 a month. That includes the 2 CEs. And then there's also a once a month, essentially a round table where it's in a group setting. You bring whatever it is that's on your mind. We talk about marketing. We talk about tax law. We talk about tax problems. We talk about how to, practice management. That's your time to bring whatever it is, not just to me, but also to the group, so that, this is an exchange, and that's community is an exchange. Okay. It's not, even though they're like, well, LuSundra, what do you think about this? LuSundra don't know it all. I know a lot. I don't know it all. But I tell you what, whatever I don't know, I'm like, hey, I know who does. That's what building a network is. So yeah, I'm really excited about our future. This first year was a little crazy, but yeah, I'm really excited about the product that we have and the classes that we put out there. I'm very excited about that.
Yes, indeed. Because I know um, the one for this month is an ethics course because
Mhm.
you got George Dandridge. Last month was a Schedule E's. There's an OIC class with Kenya.
Mhm.
I need to go answer questions so I can get my CE. But I did installment agreements. They're good in-depth courses on the platform.
Yeah,
Um,
bundles
now,
right now. Wait, I almost forgot. We got bundles right now. So it's buy one, get one half off.
and I was about to say that special ends Friday.
Yes, ends Friday.
Okay. If you would like, usually I would do this, but you guys, I'm not on my computer. Please say a prayer for my computer. Because it's completely out. I can't even turn it on at this point. You all know I need to work. But if you will drop the bundles in the chat, and then if you will, um, well, I guess that'll take them to the website, so I don't need the
Yeah,
website too.
I'll put the website because that'll take you to the bundles. They're the first thing up there.
Okay, cool. And I want to address this really quick. So Karina said, I'm trying to be excellent. My CEs are technically going into the abyss, but I want to be up on things. So Karina, and I know why Karina's saying this. She's saying this because she's not done with all of her EA exams yet. They're not going into the abyss. Like we said before, um, if you weren't doing any CE, you would just be doing the bare minimum because you're not required to do CE.
Hmm.
You're going to take the information that you're learning forward with you. Your clients are going to benefit from the information that you are learning in these classes. Your business is going to benefit from the classes that you're taking as well because you're going to be more efficient in doing things. So, CE really is for us, even though the IRS, once we're enrolled agents, makes it a requirement because it makes us better at our craft and what we do. Everybody we work with is going to benefit from that. When you're parts of those communities, like LuSundra said at the roundtable, you become a more valuable member of the community because of the CE you've taken. You become a more valuable professional because of the CE you've taken.
Yeah, because if
Um,
you're going to the abyss, girl, bye. That's building your mind. That's building you. Listen, The more you know, the more you're going to end up charging because you have invested. Okay, you have invested in your education. It's just like, when people ask me about, like who's charging what or whatever, I'm like, listen, so you got somebody with a bachelor's degree and you got somebody with a PhD. Who do you think is going to earn more? PhD person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm trying to be PhD. I don't have to have one because they don't have a PhD in the IRS does not offer a PhD. But that's my point. We are all about creating enrolled agents. Okay. But it's the education that's important. There, like I said, there are some great people who don't have credentials because they've put in the time, they've put in the work, and they've studied. And so that's what, once it gets in here, that's really what the continuing education is for. Yeah, it's to meet a requirement, but it's also to build you as a tax professional.
Exactly, because just because you've passed the CPA exam or the EA exam doesn't mean you know what you're doing. And you all hear me say this all the time. Like, just because you got your driver's license doesn't mean you can drive. Don't believe me? Get a teenager. It's a niece, nephew, cousin. Because I know it's so easy for us to forget. Them bad boys do not know how to drive. They just have a license. Same thing. So why not learn as you're working to earn your license instead of waiting until you get your license to start learning? So definitely not going into the abyss. LuSundra, do you have any last words of wisdom for us? And where can we connect with you? Sorry.
Okay, so last words of wisdom: focus on excellence. That's it. Focus on excellence. But yes, you can. I have a Facebook group, ETS Tax Institute, on Facebook. I'm here on LinkedIn, LuSundra Everett. You're welcome to connect with me here on YouTube. Listen, Tim, let's talk about these YouTube videos. I haven't shot YouTube videos in so long, but you know what? It's all evergreen, solid information, though. Guess what?
That's why I can confidently tell people to still go there.
But yeah, that's it. Just focus on excellence. That's what it's about.
Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. And you all, again, please say a prayer for my friend the computer here. If you did not get the link, if you're watching this on the replay, there is an article on the America's Favorite EA website that will take you to LuSundra's page still, because there's an article on continuing education. I have my list of preferred providers, and you will find LuSundra there. One last quick thing. If you are looking to build your EA firm, don't forget to go to americasfavoriteea.com, and you can click on how to start an EA firm and join the free community. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and hopefully I will see you next week from my laptop. Bye.